A couple of years ago, when I was a baby PNG tuber, I decided it was time for me to upgrade to an actual model. I'm an artist, so I thought, how hard could it be? I made a pretty simple model, so simple that she didn't even have legs, rigged it in Live2d, then never used it. Why? Because it didn't work. I don't know what I did wrong, but no matter how many times I exported it, I couldn't get the thing to start moving. I was so frustrated that I swore that I would never ever rig a model again. So what changed? Well, I went to an art school and discovered that no program is as complicated as Autodesk Maya, so why not give Live2d another shot? Plus, 4 years of animation classes had to be put to good use somewhere. I want to preface that this is not a tutorial. This is technically the first model I made, so I am definitely not qualified to give you guys an in-depth tutorial. I'm making this video to hopefully inspire you guys to make your own models and for pure entertainment. If you guys want an actual tutorial, please check out Merely Wufei. I referenced her videos for the entire rigging process. They're super helpful and easy to understand. I even referenced the way she does model art because they're gorgeous. So with that out of the way, let's get into the process. I made my model using Procreate, which was a bit of a challenge due to the layer limit, but I pushed on. I've been getting into using Clip Studio lately, so I think from now on I will be using that program to make models, just because it's easier. And there's no layer limit, thanks Clip Studio for giving us the bare minimum. I gave my VTuber design a bit of an update because I just wasn't vibing with the old one. If you guys want to know how I came up with the design, let me know in the comments. I will gladly talk about my design process. I did do a bit of editing in Photoshop, only because I was afraid that if I moved things around too much, it would kill the quality, which is a problem that I had with my old model. After editing in Photoshop, it was finally time to start rigging. The idea to make this video only came across to me when I was halfway done with the eyes, which is okay because the only thing you missed out on was me fighting with the mesh generator and me doing the head tilt. I got through the eyes pretty quickly since I just did one eye and then copy pasted the other. Plus, it was also just a simple eye blink and moving of the irises. This was also my first time adding physics to a model, which was actually pretty simple. You just squish and squash things around and the program does the rest for you. Rigging is definitely one of those trust the process type things. When I first blocked out the head turn, my model was looking a little funky, but after adjusting things, she looked pretty good. I learned that rigging has a very similar workflow to art. I was constantly tweaking things here and there and then going through the physics menu to check my work. Sometimes I would be so proud of something that I would just sit there and stare at my model moving, just like I do with my art. Something that I forgot to do, but I fixed later, was give her a patch of hair in between the hair in the front and the hair in the back. So for the longest time, she had a bald spot. As long as we don't look too hard, it's fine. But just know that for a very long time, I had a bald spot underneath my hat. Rigging the mouth was pretty simple. There are charts out there that have really complicated shapes, but I stuck with the chart that Merely Wufei gave us. I might go back and add those in the future, but I think it looks pretty good at the moment. I mean, just look at this mouth tracking. I think a little goes a long way. Something that I took note of when I was rigging this new model was that my old model was always constantly smiling, which didn't fit a lot of circumstances, especially when I was playing horror games or something sad. So I made sure that I gave her a more neutral expression while also adding the obligatory smile. Then I added the parameters for VBridger, which for those of you who don't know, VBridger is a face tracker that you can use alongside VTube Studio. I thought my last model couldn't capture all my expressions, so I wanted to give VBridger a shot, and I definitely see a difference. I mean, just look at this. Or, but yeah, I can't do that with my old model. I do notice that now as I'm watching the footage back that the way that I drew the teeth makes her look like she has buck teeth, which wasn't usually what I was going for, but it still works with the hamster theme, I guess. Making the hair felt like the most like animating. It uses a lot of principles of animation, which scratched the animator part of my brain. I would animate part of the bangs and I would move on to the next while using the previous one as reference and so on. The second half of the rigging process is where things start to get a bit difficult. It first started with the steppies. Depending on how you rig the steppies, it could change a lot about the body language of the character. It also depends on how the model's feet are drawn. Since there are so many factors that determine how you rig the steppies, Merely didn't go too in-depth with it, so I had to research how riggers tackle this. The final result I think is cute, but although her stance is kind of wide, but it still fits. Next, I rigged the arms and the jacket, which even thinking about it makes me feel frustrated. The arms themselves weren't the problem, it was the sleeves. Since the model's arms go behind the body when she moves, I had to make 2 layers of sleeves that sat on top and below the arms. But because I did that, when she moved, you would see the bottom of the sleeve pop out. I'm gonna be honest and say that my solution to this felt like hot gluing something onto another thing. because that's essentially what I did. I glued the sleeves to each other. While it worked in the end, I think there are more elegant solutions. Gluing the sleeves together worked so well that gluing just became my solution to everything. The hood of the jacket wouldn't sit on the arms when she moved, so I glued the hood to the sleeves. The string on the jacket wouldn't stay on the hood, so I glued the strings to the hood. Then the pins on the jacket wouldn't stay, so I glued those together, and so on. Again, not an elegant solution, but it works. Have you guys ever followed a tutorial video, skipped a few steps, and realized that maybe you should have watched the whole video because something fell off? That's what happened with the ears. To create the illusion that the ears are folding down, you stretch the top part of the ear. In my case, it was the brown part. I realized that the more you stretch this tiny asset, the worse it looked. And as if Mirrorly was reading my mind, she said, I recommend drawing the ears as if they were folded down because it's easier to squish things than to stretch. I should have watched the whole video before I started. The ears ended up looking okay. I think if you look too hard, you can kind of see how low quality they become when folded, but I did pretty well. So I finished one ear and then I copied and pasted it to the other side. Before I did the toggles, I fixed her bald spot and her hat. The bald spot was an easy fix. I just imported a scalp that I made in Photoshop and rigged it so that it matched her head movement. The hat, though, was a bit more complicated. In the original model art, her hat was split into two pieces, a front and a back. But while I was rigging the head, I realized that it didn't give enough movement and it would look weird from some angles. So I went back and I split up the hat into three pieces: the brim, the front, and the back. Then I just rigged it like I did with the scalp just to match the head movements, and it worked. Now onto the toggles. The emo toggles were pretty easy. I just adjusted how they looked on the model, then adjusted the opacity. I did have to go back into Photoshop because the shading on the angry symbol didn't export correctly, but that was the only issue I had. Again with the arms. The arm toggles is where I struggled. I only made the lower arms and used the same upper arm. The problem was that sometimes the lower arms wouldn't connect, so I had to rig the upper arms while also rigging the lower arms. Then each arm had sleeves, which had physics, and so on. It was just a big mess. If I were to do this again, I would make each arm a set of upper arms to match. I'm overall really proud of the toggles. They came out great. I'm especially proud of the physics in the boba arm. My last model also had a boba arm, but it was static because I was lazy and didn't separate the layers. So having a cup with liquid that actually moved was a nice change. I also added mouse tracking to the drawing pen so that it actually looks like I'm drawing. My old model had this, but the fact that I did it myself makes me like it more. The very last thing I did was make a wave animation. I never animated in Live2d before, but I thought having the ability to wave to my viewers was a cute idea, so I wanted to give it a shot. It was actually very simple and fun. I rigged the hands and then I animated them in the animation tab. Animating in Live2d was very similar to animating in programs like Adobe Premiere and After Effects, so I didn't feel lost in any way. I would definitely animate in Live2d again if I had to. The only thing I would do differently, and I may go back and change this, but I think I made the waving animation too short. She does a very quick wave and then stops, which is annoying for when I want to film her doing it. After some final adjustments, she was done. After compiling all the footage together, it ended up being 22 hours long. I think it took me about a week, but oh my god, 22 hours of work. But it was worth it. I love my new model. I think she looks so good, and the fact that I rigged her also makes me love her even more. This experience has inspired me to take rigging more seriously in the future. Wink, wink. Wink, 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 wink. Wink, wink, wink. I may obey commissions. Wink, 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 wink. Let me know if this video has inspired you to rig your own models in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more art videos. See you guys in the next one. Bye!